You know, after talking about the Knuckles show not too long ago, I wanted to talk about another Sonic TV show that really divided the fan base, that being Sonic Prime. Sonic Prime was the Netflix series that was going to be the first 3D animated modern Sonic show, while also being canon to the games. And let's be real here, this show was kind of a massive disappointment. But before I start to critically bash the show for the many reasons I don't like it, I do want to start off with some positives. I will say the animation is easily the best thing about the show, especially during fight scenes. I really like the squash and stretch style that this show goes for, so the animation, in my opinion, is very solid. Another thing I really liked about the show was the new voice cast that they got for the characters. I pretty much enjoyed every single voice actor in the show, except for the guy who voiced Eggman. I'm sorry, I'm just not a big fan of his take on the character, but everything else was good. And that's pretty much everything positive I have to say. Everything from here is going to be negative, I'm sorry. The main reason I don't like the show is for two big reasons. One, the tone, and two, the story. The basic premise of Sonic Prime is that it's a multiverse story within the Sonic universe, which sounds exciting since we've never really seen Sonic tackle the multiverse before, but they fumble this concept so hard, mainly because rather than visiting unique universes, there's only one universe that is really fleshed out and the others are just, what if Sonic World was like pirates? What if Sonic's world was like jungle? What if Sonic's world was just a desert wasteland? There's just nothing going on here. And the only fleshed out universe they really give attention to is New York City, which is a universe where Eggman wins, which sounds entertaining as well, but they fumble that concept even harder because Eggman, for some reason, shares his victory with a bunch of other multiversal variants of himself, which aren't unique at all. They're all just, oh, Eggman but old, Eggman but a baby. They're just the most lazy depictions of the character. And also, it's completely out of character for Eggman to even share a victory, considering how egotistical and narcissistic he is. And the version of Eggman that they are trying to get us believe conquered the world is basically just the least threatening version of Eggman we've ever seen. He goes by Mr. Dr. Eggman, which is a stupid fucking name, by the way. And this version of Eggman has hair for some reason, and his suit just looks basic as hell. So, yeah, I do not like the way they portray Eggman in the show at all. But I'm also not a big fan of the way they portray Sonic either, because he is basically just a giant idiot the entire show, and he's the whole reason why the multiverse exists, because they basically explain that there's this gem called the Paradox Prism, and Sonic is trying to stop Eggman from getting it, but he basically just smashes it to bits, which basically creates an entire multiverse, essentially. He basically is the anomaly if he was Miles Morales. Not gonna lie to you, this concept sounds interesting on paper, but they don't really do much with it besides just, you know, Sonic going to new universes, quote-unquote new, and he just basically has to learn the same lesson every single episode in Season 1, that these are different versions of my friends, they don't know me, this is an entirely different universe, which you think he would get after like the first 2 times of it happening, but no, they do this same stupid gag, wait, don't you remember me? Like, I get really tired of it. And because they do that so often with Sonic, it leads to a lot of pacing issues. Like, there are several episodes in this show where they focus on one problem for, like, 6 episodes, and it just goes on and on and on. The show, a lot of the time, just feels like filler, in my opinion. And when things start to get good, you kind of have to just wait until next season. Which, by the way, this show was originally meant to be just 1 season long, but Netflix had the great idea of splitting it into 3 seasons to pretend that there were more episodes than there actually were, just to get people coming back to their service over and over again. Another thing I'm not a big fan of is the inclusion of Shadow and how he's implemented into the show. I do like Shadow in the show. The way they portray him, the voice actor they got to voice Shadow, I forget his name, but he did a really good job. My big issue is the fact that he is benched for the entirety of the show, and the show constantly comes up with these weird-ass excuses to why he can't be in any situation. Because they knew if Shadow was there, the show would have been over way quicker. And I feel like that's just really lazy. And by the time we do get to see some good Shadow action, it just rarely lasts. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care for a lot of the multiversal variants. For the most part, they're just basic one-note characters that take on the role of that Sonic character, and I just don't care for them. There was one character that they really fleshed out and that I really liked, that being Nine, who is an alternate variant of Tails, who's basically just evil. Well, okay, he's not evil, he basically never met Sonic in that universe, so as a result, he just became extremely jaded and closed off from the rest of the world, which I think is a really cool concept, and I like the things that they do with his character later on, up until the finale of the show. Basically, what ends up happening is throughout the show, Nine and Sonic work together to try to fix the Paradox Prism, but Nine does not have the same goals as Sonic. Sonic just wants to get his home back, while Nine wants to start a new one. And you get some really good character development with Sonic and Nine, where Nine basically says, like, I can't believe that you actually thought I would just go along with whatever you say. I'm not the Tails that you knew. Which I think is really cool. It actually shows that they know how to do the multiverse concept well. Up until they fumble it further with at the end of the show, where you have Nine being the main villain in Season 3, but in the finale, he just kind of goes good. Like, they don't really have a fight or anything, they just kind of talk, and then Nine just gives up. It's just, I hate it. I hate it so much, because there was real potential there. But just when things start to get good, they just kind of have to wrap it up quickly, and you don't really get a lot. Like, we don't even get a fight scene between Nine and Sonic. We don't even get that. I know I'm ranting a lot. I know this video is a little bit unstructured from my normal vids, but I'm sorry. I cannot talk about this show without venting a little bit, because this show just fumbles the bag constantly when there was so much potential there. And if you want to know why we don't get a fight scene between Sonic and Nine, basically because of multiverse shenanigans, Sonic is dying, and then that just makes Nine go, oh no, I'll stop. It's just really annoying. I fucking hate it so much. And if you're wondering, oh, how is this show canon? Because while this show was being, like, the episodes were being released and stuff, the showrunners and Sega themselves made sure to remind everyone, this show is canon, this show is canon. And poor Ian Flynn, bro. I feel so bad for Ian Flynn. He had to constantly remind people, yes, the show is canon, but I can't really spoil how or why. And basically, the show takes place after Sonic Advance, I believe. So a little bit after Adventure and a little bit after Advance. But it doesn't even matter, because the events of the show get erased from history, just like Sonic 06. So basically, this show is a gigantic waste of everyone's time. I would rather watch the Knuckles show than this, and I know that's a very weird take, but hear me out. At least the Knuckles show is short enough to where I can get through it, whereas Sonic Prime is dragged out for 3 seasons and constantly keeps reminding me that the writers are clearly just talking down to children. This feels more like Sonic for kids rather than just Sonic for everyone, which Sonic is a franchise for everyone. That's why people like Sonic, but Sonic Prime just feels like it's desperately trying to cling on to the younger audience so bad. And yeah, I do not like this show very much. I think Netflix fumbled the bag. I think the writers fumbled the bag. I think Sega constantly reminding people that the show is canon was stupid. Like, this show, all in all, has many unique concepts, it has good animation, good voice acting, and there are a few things that I like about it, but it is not enough for me to not hate this show. Overall, those are my thoughts on Sonic Prime. I know I've been gone for a little bit, I took a little bit of a break, but I just wanted to upload this today. See y'all.